King Henry was the King of England from April 1509 until his death. He was also the Lord of Ireland and later the King of Ireland. He was born in the Greenwich Palace. He established himself as supreme head of the Church of England. His royal name was Henry VIII, by grace of God, King of England and France, Defender of the Faith, Lord of Ireland and of the Church of England, and Earth's supreme head. He was the most famous English king of all time, and he was remembered for his many wives. Of the many affairs, only two were known, with Bessie Blount and Mary Boleyn. Bessie had King Henry's first son, and they named him Henry Fitzroy, who was the later Duke of Richmond in 1525. Mary had two children, Catherine and Henry, and they were never proven to be King Henry's children, but it was suspected, and he never acknowledged them as his children. His first wife, Catherine, gave him his first child, which was a daughter, and all of her other children died in infancy. His first daughter was Princess Mary of England, and she never had an heir for King Henry. He was tired of no heir, a son, so he divorced her. Anne Boleyn was, he married her later, and she gave him a daughter, and they named her Elizabeth after Henry's mother. He was not happily married with Anne because she was angry and violent-tempered. He felt that her not giving him a son was betrayal, so he was very unhappy with her. Well, she became pregnant, and when she found out that King Henry was injured, she went into shock and miscarried the baby. And King Henry thought this was witchcraft, so he had her executed. One day after Anne's execution, King Henry was engaged to Jane Seymour. This was his third marriage, and they were married 10 days later. Jane got pregnant with a son, Prince Edward. King Henry finally got what he wanted, which was an heir for his throne. He considered Jane to be his true wife because she gave him the heir that he wanted. Jane had a difficult birth and she died, and King Henry was later buried next to her at his death. Anne's sister, Anne, who was the sister of the Dukes Clovis, he didn't meet her when he agreed to marry her, but when he finally did meet her, he found her very unattractive, and he annulled the marriage. That was his fourth marriage. So his fifth marriage, he married Catherine Howard, which was Anne Boleyn's first cousin. They were happily married until she had an affair with Thomas Cranmer, who was the courtier. King Henry had an investigation take place because he didn't believe this rumor, and it was proven that she did have this affair, so he had her executed. His last marriage was to a rich widow named Catherine Parr. She reconciled King Henry with his daughters, Princess Mary and Lady Elizabeth. This was the Act of Parliament in 1544, and it put his two daughters back into the line of succession. A rhyme to remember King Henry's many wives is, divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived. King Henry, in his later years, became fat, and this was because he had a leg wound at a jousting accident. This made him not able to exercise, so his wound ulcerated. Henry died at age 55 in the palace Whitehall, and his last words were, "Monks, monks, monks." King Henry was responsible for the English Reformation and building the greatest English monarchy ever. He was also responsible for the English Bible, which became widely known and published. And King Henry made England the center of learning, science, and arts. He will always be known as a figure in history with many wives. Thank you. Thank you.